this beautiful photo here. And we want to thank you.
Thank you.
For
I
coming
appreciate it.
and representing that flag.
Thank
Give
you.
it a hand. Mean the power, but thank you. Okay? Okay? Tonight, you understand what we want to do. We want to, you want to be able to, you want to hold off until we, at the end of.
Yep, that's why he's coming before the reading of the minutes, so that he'll have time to do what he has to do.
You want to have that go speak?
Yes.
Come on then. That's what that. Y'all, let me tell you something. This young man here, you understand, and kind of gave me a call, and I was trying to figure out who he is. I need to put a face, to that voice. You understand? But something about it, something fictitious about that voice. Let me tell you something. Brother Gilbert, if you deal with the spirit, y'all, let me tell you something. And then a person that comes on that phone, and let me tell you something, Sister Nelly, you can feel it. And you can feel that trouble. And I said, stop that young man. What's going on? Y'all, the paper now at the top, I see rubber. I said, that's it. So tonight, you understand, we have the next person that is going to represent, y'all look at here now, represent our district, which is the Congressional District of Georgia, which is 8th district, our next representative. And we're going to make sure that we send him to Atlanta, none other but Reverend Darius Butler. Come on.
I really want to appreciate you so much. I want to start off by saying I want to give a shout out to my campaign manager who could not be here today, Emily Leslie, who many of you all might remember, who worked on Daniel Blackman's campaign back in January the 5th of 2021. I just spoke to Emily when I was getting out of the car. And she's like, hey, I couldn't be here with you. She says, let me give you some notes. I said, okay. So she's going through the notes. She's telling me everything and how she feels and all of that. And she says to me, the most important thing, don't be too preachy. Don't be too preachy. Calm down. But now I feel like I have no choice. Now I feel like I really have got to let you know this is what we're doing. So I really appreciate the warm welcome. Thank you so much. I am so grateful to be here, to be the Democratic nominee. That's just in itself is something that is wonderfully amazing.
Yeah.
Because we have a prime opportunity here today to be able to, one, take our district into our hands. We have the prime opportunity to make a change. We have the prime opportunity to be able to show that when everybody says, oh, Georgia's blue, Georgia's blue, Georgia's blue, we can show them Georgia really is blue. It's not just Atlanta. It's Georgia as a whole.
That's right.
I tell people all the time, I'm originally from Pulaski County. If any of you know where Pulaski County is, God bless you, because most folks don't know where Pulaski County is. It's right outside of Macon and Houston. And when I was growing up in Pulaski County, my great-grandmother, who passed away some years ago, she said something when a lot of the family started moving out and moving off and going to different places of the state and visiting different places. She said, you have a way of getting away. You'll run as far as you want to. You'll go anywhere in this world, but home has a way of calling you back. And, at the time, I was young, so to me, I'm like, I ain't coming back, I ain't coming back, don't play with me. And my mother did the same thing. She was like, I'm not going back, no, I'm going to Hawkinsville for, ain't nothing in Hawkinsville for me. And now, me and my mother laugh about it, because all these years later, now here we are actually back. And the fact that I convinced my mom to actually come home, I was like, oh my God, this is something special. So, I want to preference everything with this is our home. This is where we live. This is ours. And we have got to take that back into our hands. We've been living now for years with a representative who just frankly doesn't care, who just does not come to visit the district, who does not focus on the problems that we have. Much like you said, you got little kids out here with guns shooting folks.
That's right.
There's a little 5-year-old boy who shot his cousin in in Atlanta just this past week. And we have a representative who consistently votes against common sense gun reform, saying it's okay to have a gun. Nobody's saying you can't own a firearm, but just make sure it's responsible. Just make sure we know where you have it at. Just make sure it's locked up. Make sure the people who have ownership of that gun have it in a safe place. They don't have any priors. They don't have anything like that. Do the common sense things. You know, we are right here in Brooks County, and you all can let me know. How far is the closest hospital? If something happens right now, where do we want to go? Where do we want to go?
About 18 miles.
18 miles.
Well, they got one in
That
Brooks.
way,
But you said that's not where we're
But
going to
I'm
go.
going this way. I'm going
18
miles.
18 miles.
Yep.
Now, my grandfather had a heart attack right when the pandemic started. Right when the pandemic started, my grandfather had a heart attack. And it just so happens that I was there with my grandfather. And the hospital that I ended up taking him to, because I drove, he just was adamant on not getting in the ambulance and having a bill. But that to me, sir, you're having a heart attack. It really doesn't matter about the bill right now. But so I ended up driving him to the hospital. It took us 15 minutes to get to the hospital. So that's about the same thing, about 18 miles to go.
Right.
Now, in that time, like I said, he was having a heart attack. 18 miles, 15 minutes. A lot can happen in 15 minutes when you are having a heart attack, when you're having a stroke, when you're having any serious ailment. A lot can happen in 15 minutes. And in our district, the 8th, in the 1st, and in the 2nd, we have lost the most hospitals out of the entire state. Over this entire state, over the last 10 years, we've lost over 10 hospitals. That's a hospital a year. And I remember when I went to school up in Atlanta, I went to Morehouse, and I remember whenever, anything would happen, the first thing they'll say, if you don't have insurance, we take you to Grady. You're going to Grady. You're going to Grady. And forever, people would always say, okay, I guess I'll go over to Grady. I guess I'll go to Grady. There was a big campaign that said that Atlanta can't live without Grady. Atlanta can't live without Grady. And they raised so much money to save Grady. The state of Georgia paid so much money to save Grady Hospital. But yet, in the 8th district, in the 1st district, in the 2nd district, you got 10 hospitals that's closed down. Where's the campaign to save those 10?
Right.
Where's the campaign to make sure that every single county has a medical center that is top of the line? Because remember, now, if you do go to the hospital, there's a possibility that they don't have the money in the budget to be able to do the things that you need. I had a conversation with Brother Howell up in Milledgeville in Baldwin County. He told me a story that broke my heart. His mom had, and he said this on the radio, so I don't mind sharing this story. He said he had to rush his mother to the hospital. He said that they got there, it was about 6:15 in the afternoon. The hospital sent him away and said, unfortunately, there's nothing we can do till tomorrow. He goes back the next day, he says, okay, well, my mom's feeling better. They go back the next day, and now it's like, okay, can y'all look at it? Can y'all check it? They put her in this machine to do the CAT scans and the MRIs. And the doctor comes and says, I'm gonna be honest with you, I feel, because he's running for Congress, he's running for the legislature. So they felt comfortable enough to talk to him and tell him, hey, when you get in, maybe this is something you can work on. He says, your mom had a stroke yesterday. We knew she had a stroke, but unfortunately, the budget, we couldn't do everything that we could do. And when he told me this story, I'm mad. I'm livid, because I'm like, they knew this and they did nothing. And he said, that's exactly how I felt when it happened. He said, but as I sit back and I look at it, you think of, okay, this is a problem that the hospital is having, this is a problem that more people are having, and it shouldn't be a problem. There should be no reason why any hospital says, because of our budget, we can't do this amount of work, or because of our budget, we have to send you to Macon, to Valdosta, to Jacksonville. We live in one of the richest nations in the world, and the fact that people cannot have adequate care is just totally repugnant. It makes no sense. It's the stupidest thing in the world. So, when it comes to these common sense things that need to be fixed, when it comes to these basic human necessities, that's what we're fighting for. That's why it's so important. And that's why we've got to do everything we can to make our voices heard. The longer that we allow this type of disengagement to happen between our district and Washington, D.C., and the people who hold the purse, the longer we suffer.
Right.
Because they're not suffering. Let's be honest. There is nobody in Washington, D.C. who holds an actual title that is suffering.
That's right.
But yet we are left to suffer. We are left to deal with the closing hospitals. We are left to deal with the schools that closed down. We had during COVID, where kids had to put school buses. They had to put school buses out for kids to have Wi-Fi to be able to use the computers. We have a situation where you have folks still have it in my hometown of Hawkinsville, Georgia. We still have the same pipes from Franklin Delano Roosevelt's administration. The same water pipes from 80 years ago. That should not be allowed to happen. You know, that is something that we can fix. The money is here to fix it, but unless we have representation who is willing to say, bring this money to my district, make sure that this stuff gets fixed in my district, things don't happen. And the longer that we allow Representative Austin Scott to hold a seat that he does not truly value anymore, the longer we suffer. And so with that, I'm not going to sing a hymn, I promise. We're not doing a hymn. But I will leave you with this. I want to leave you with this. I did a sermon not too long ago, and I promised I wasn't going to be too preachy, but like I said, it is what it is. I did a sermon not too long ago where the premise of it was a pattern of good works. It was a pattern of good works. And in this scripture, and it's in the book of Haggai, in this it talks about the makings of a man and the makings of a woman. And it breaks down how a man is supposed to be, how a woman is supposed to be, how we as humanity is supposed to act. And in that scripture, at the very bottom, at the very last part of the book, it says, and you must have a pattern of good work. Well, I'm coming to you now asking that we show the pattern of good work. You know, the work that was done in Brooks County for Reverend Warnock and John Ossoff was amazing. So I want to give you guys an awesome shout out. You know, there are now 10,000 registered voters in Brooks County. What we have to do is make sure that we get them out to vote. Brooks County missed it. We could have been Democratic with 1,300 votes. There were 5,000 people who were registered but did not show up.
Did not show up. That's right.
That is something that we cannot allow to happen. And I put this squarely on us, on people like myself who, you know, we come and we preach a good game, we talk a good game, we tell people register, which I took this from Reverend Timothy McDowell, not Timothy McDowell, First Iconium Baptist Church. He's gonna kill me if he knows I forgot his name. But he has a sermon that he gave, and I'm like, I'm taking that. I need that. I'm gonna use that. He says we do the first step, which is always voter registration, but we forget step 2 and 3, voter education and voter mobilization. I'm telling you, this year we can educate and we can mobilize and we can win. So with that, I'm gonna be quiet. I'm not passing around the collection plate, so don't worry. Don't grab your purses. But I am gonna leave y'all with that. We can do it this year. This is our time. We can do this. Thank y'all so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. That's right. Very, very good. Very good.